got Brian Murphy to my left. Chicago Bears for the open season. And I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
Now listening to Open Season, your host, Billy Allen.
Welcome to the Open Season Show. I'm your host, Billy Allen, and tonight we are chewing into a whole lot. Everybody's going to live. We're going to be breaking down the U.S. Open as Brooks Koepka just announced that he's going to go there as well. And we'll be talking about the NBA, the finals recap. Are the Warriors going to be back? What do the Celtics have to do? Kenny Atkinson took a job with the Charlotte Hornets, but he decided he'd rather be a bench coach on the Warriors. And Kyrie, oh my God, would you believe that there's some issues with him? Refuse to believe it. Kyrie potentially maybe going to the Knicks, Lakers, Heat. And the Red Sox are making a decent little push off. Looking pretty good here. But yeah, so we have joined by Justin Elaine as well as Frank Bradica. And guys, starting out with the U.S. Open, we actually have a little clip here from Rory McIlroy just talking about everything with LIV.
It's incredible. Playing with Tony and JT today, two of the top players in the world. And all of us playing the way we did. I mean, I think the worst score of the group was, 6 under par. This is a day I'll remember for a long, long time. 21st PGA Tour win, one more than someone else. That gave me a little bit of extra incentive today, and happy to get it done.
So there you have it. Rory McIlroy talking about a little bit of the extra incentive, jabbing at Greg Norman. But guys, as we start out, everybody talking about LIV, talking about the U.S. Open as Brooks Koepka goes there. What's your latest thoughts as Brooks Koepka announces he's going to LIV, and just all the smack talk that we've heard this week?
I'd say Brooks Koepka going to LIV was probably the easiest thing to bet on. Guy that great at golf, but doesn't really love golf per se, and likes to make a lot of money. Him and Dustin Johnson were pretty spot on and pretty a sure thing that they were going to go to LIV. I thought that the clip, from the week prior to the Canadian Open, I love the fact that the top tier golfers, the young golfers, are staying in the PGA Tour, and I like the back and forth trash talk with. A lot of these guys are under pressure right now. Rory, JT, Morikawa to go to LIV. They're sticking with the PGA, and it's great because golf right now is probably behind, I would say, football and basketball for the most watched sport right now. So it's going in the right direction. We got to keep those top tier guys there.
I think the back and forth is great for golf. I think it's been entertaining, but I like when people go at each other in the media when it's sports related because it's always wildly entertaining. Rory sounds a little bitter there. He doesn't so much sound like a champion for the PGA. He sounds like he's just trying to throw salt on LIV, which I don't care. They're pro athletes. This is what they do. Tiger Woods was a golfer who quote unquote load managed. He did international events that paid well. He did majors in a significantly reduced schedule. Part of that was roids and recovery, whatever, but he was smart and he maximized his earnings. That's what these players are trying to do now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thing. You talk about the reputation. You talk about, just securing the bag. I mean, I don't know. For me you're giving up a pretty cushy job. I mean, to go to LIV and deal with all this stuff. I mean, with these guys, some of the lifestyles they have. I was listening to John Rahm talk the other day, and he was saying, I sat down with my wife. We said the $400 million will make no difference to our lifestyle. Now, is he probably going to get that? No. Dustin Johnson got $120 million or something. And obviously $400 million would probably make a difference to your lifestyle. But what's your thought on that? As far as why you do the sport, if you're trying to play the ultimate, the most thing that, just is going to make the fans happy. You're trying to get the money. What would be your motivation? What would you do trying to keep your fans?
Are you referring to what the PGA should be doing to keep
No, I'm
the?
just saying, like, what would you do as one of these golfers? I mean, would you think about like, hey, I need to be ethical here, or would you just take the money?
I mean, I think these guys are still, again, nothing's been talked about the fact that they're still going to get their endorsement money from like Bryson DeChambeau is a big Puma guy. Uh, DJ is a big TaylorMade guy. They're still getting paid for all their endorsements, and they're still going to be recognizable. They can still play on in the majors in the PGA, the British Open. A lot of them played at the U.S. Open last weekend. I mean, let's just be honest. There's two things that make them want to go to live. One, the money, and two, it's the schedule. There's only, I think, a tournament every couple weeks rather than the grind of every single week. And in their first live tournament, the guy that won $4 million. I'm pretty sure the purse to win the U.S. Open was right around there, if not less than that. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was 3.15 to win the U.S. Open. The live tournament had like 30 guys. Half of them were PGA, ex-PGA guys. Some of them were has-beens like Phil Mickelson. And the U.S. Open, probably one of the hardest courses to play at. He only won 3.15. So the money factor is significant. And the other factor is they don't have to go every single weekend. They're playing when they want to. They're living their lives, and they're guaranteed. DJ is guaranteed $200 million. That's pretty much what it is. At this point, they're sick of the grind. They just want to have fun and make money.
Don't you?
Why do we always slam these athletes when they try to make more money, when all of our motivations are always try to make more money? I mean, this always happens when these guys hold out for more money. Everybody talks about how bad it is. I mean, ultimately, aren't we all just trying to make more money? Like, what do you care?
For less work. And here's the other thing. It's not a team sport. So you should be as selfish as humanly possible. Reputation. Oh, who cares? Who cares? I'm going to make the most money and be the best at my sport. In a singular sport, I don't care nearly as much that they love it because they don't have to make as much sacrifice as a player in a team sport. When you're on a basketball team and you're 1 of 15, you have to love it to make some of these sacrifices, to be willing to take a back seat. A golfer, a tennis player, a sprinter? No. You just be good. Just go.
Shaq's in a different commercial every other week. I freaking love the guy. I mean, I'm not holding it against him for whoever he wants to get in bed with to make a few more $1 million. And I mean, I just think it's crazy how, like, everybody, just go to our lives. You're doing stocks, you're doing this, that, just doing whatever you can to try to make more money ethically or whatever. And it's just like, we get mad at these guys just because they make millions of dollars, honestly. I mean, what do you care?
I'm always
I'm not bashing them for doing the decision they
no,
made.
I'm just saying, how many questions did these guys get asked this week? Like, hypothetical, like, if like the Nazis had some type of thing or like whatever, like,
it's also kind of like, golf is the older, it's like MLB. Like, like you don't really love the game. It's like,
just we call that.
I want to get paid. Like, what? Who cares? And the best part about Live is that it's literally on YouTube. You can't even, they don't even have a TV contract yet. You have to go on YouTube to watch it live. And there was like maybe 100,000 people that watched it because I didn't even know what channel it was on. It's all they're trying to do is get the PGA to pay them more, to ease up on the amount of tournaments. And they're already starting to do that. The PGA came out and said next year we're going to have these tournaments that there's a $20 million purse. I mean, the PGA is making a fortune right now. Think about it. The sport has never been more popular. The purses are slowly going up, but they could definitely make them bigger, especially all the endorsements they get, sponsors, the golf, the TV contracts. It's absurd. They definitely need to make it a little bit more attractive for these golfers to stick around. I'm going to watch it no matter what. I'm hoping that more guys don't go to Live, but I'll probably watch Live this weekend, see what it's all about. It's just golf. Like, what are they going to be doing? It's not like we're watching Happy Gilmore. Like, it's just golf.
Now, do you guys know this kid Fitzpatrick at all? I mean, I feel like he just kind of came out of nowhere. Is he promising? What's the deal on him?
Fitzpatrick's a very good golfer. He's been, I think, in the majors top 20, several the Masters. I think he finished right around top 10. He's a very, very good golfer. He won the U.S. Junior Amateur at this course 10 years ago in Brookline, which is kind of crazy. Stayed in the same house with his family he did when he won the tournament in 2013. He's only 27. He's a very, very good young golfer. I would have preferred Zalatoris. I selfishly had money on Zalatoris, but
He
Fitzpatrick's
only
a
comes in
stud.
second.
What's that?
I
Yeah,
said he only comes in second.
Yeah, you don't win if it comes in second. So you bet on someone to win that comes in second. It's like the same as if they finish in last. So no, Fitzpatrick's a phenomenal golfer.
All right. Well, yeah, switching gears a little bit here. There was definitely a missed opportunity for a parade in Boston this week. We had to watch Draymond Green and all those clowns go through it. But guys, I mean, looking at things, obviously we want to talk about the Celtics, but I mean, starting out, what do you think about the Warriors? I think that not necessarily will they win another championship, but they're probably going to be here for another couple of years. Like, you just look at how well they've introduced some of these young guys in. Gary Payton, Jordan Poole. They've only got guys like Kuminga, Wiseman coming up here. So the West is going to get a lot harder this year with people coming back. Teams like Memphis getting better. But the Warriors should definitely compete here. Honestly, they might have a more talented team. But in terms of winning another title, is this Warriors team going to win another title before it's all said and done?
I don't think so. I don't see it. I didn't see this one. And it's very, very funny to me that we got to play them because I thought it really could have been a torch passing moment. And it just didn't end up being that. They wanted it more. They were clearly more poised. And you mentioned two guys, James Wiseman and Kuminga, didn't play in the series. You got another guy, Moses. They've got three young guys that are good young players, two-way players, and they're going to be with, Klay Thompson is slowly going to get healthier, and he'll never be what he was, but he's still going to be a top 5 shooter of all time. And Steph Curry's going to, he's going to start to get hurt more and more because he's small, but he's going to shoot well forever. Just like Ray Allen, just like Reggie Miller. The skills don't leave you. The athleticism does. The reflexes do. This Warriors team is going to stay good for a long time. 50-win team for a long time. I don't think they have enough ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I don't see them winning again, and I think it's just going to come down to health. Curry played the best I've ever seen Steph Curry play. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I love Klay Thompson. I really like Draymond Green. I respect his not his actual play, but just how much of a diva and he's a better Marcus Smart essentially. I don't see them winning again because I think everything had to work out perfectly for them this year. I don't see Steph Curry being healthy year in, year out the rest of the way, just like how I don't see Kevin Durant being healthy year in, year out the rest of the way at their age. And Klay Thompson, and granted, he might be better next year. I'm not sure. And I'm not really bought in on James Wiseman yet. If I was them, I would have drafted Lonzo Ball. Lamar Ball, sorry. I got them all mixed up. Or even Anthony Edwards. And I think Jordan Poole probably going to make a lot of money, probably not with the Warriors, because he's going to want to start, and he's not going to want to keep being a bench player.
Yeah, and typically this is where we would make Frank take the other side. I really can't come up for a reason why I think Golden State's going to be back and win a title. I think they're going to be pretty good for the next few years, but probably not enough to actually go over and win it. I think to your point, if the players all even said it, they needed to be perfect this year. I think that's part of why it was so special for them, because they are older, because they are, they're still good, but they are a step slower than this core was a few years ago. I think this was probably their last best kick at the can, really, just for the way that things fell. Also, like I said, they may actually be more talented next year, but they won't have the path. They won't have the things break the right way that they would hope they would. Now, going to the Celtics, they've obviously got to do some things here because you can't just blow this up, but you can't just do nothing. And so, with that being said, I think people would be surprised that I would say you need to do something like move Marcus Smart, but I think you absolutely need to.
You want to move Marcus Smart? I thought you liked.
That's what I'm saying.
Smart.
I mean, I'm the hot take. Coming from me, you're going to think
Marcus Smart fan club over here.
I was going to say, you'd assume that I would want to sign him for life. Give him a key to the city, but no, I I think, well, you've got to trade somebody. You've got to make something happen. I think the Celtics, we saw how good their defense can be. And I think really at the end, their offense was what ultimately they needed. I just think Marcus Smart is a guy that you might want the ball in his hands for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I just don't think he can handle it and put these guys in the right position, kind of running the offense. I would like to see them bring in a guy maybe like Tyus Jones. I mean, I think some of these smaller moves that they need to do with just shoring up the bench and putting good talent around these guys and just getting somebody that could score. I don't know. Is it like a Bobby Portis type that you try to bring in, can hit threes, stretch the floor a little bit more? But I think the Celtics can't just stay here with this team. Your championship window is always shorter than it appears. And I think you can't just get greedy and say we can run this team back. Do you guys see the Celtics competing for a title the next couple of years here? What do you think is going to happen? What would you like to see for them to do this year?
They have to move smart. They've got to move someone, and it can't be just an ancillary piece. If it were up to me, I would have moved Brown years ago. If it's up to me now, I'd seriously take a hard look at trading Tatum. I know Light Skin Jesus just had the playoff run he had, but I think that we're in a dire situation cap-wise. And I think that the two players we have shown an ability to recruit. I'm not saying they haven't tried, but if your best friend is Bradley Beal and you've had 4 years to have a good team and try to sway him to come here and he hasn't, I think that's a problem. Now, if we get him, different story. You pair Jalen and Jason up with a Bradley Beal, different story. Different team, different makeup. Bottom line, we need a playmaker, a ball handler, and a passer, and we need shooters.
Who are you getting back for Tatum?
If it were a Tatum move, you got to look at somebody else with a giant red flag, just a different red flag who's younger. So I'm looking at a Zion. I'm looking at a DeAndre Ayton in picks. I'm looking at something like that. And again, you're not going to get
DeAndre Ayton and picks. Wow. You're telling me we could get that for Tatum?
But what do they get for Anthony Davis, and what do they get for this is what that league is. Like, and so, we're heading into a territory where we have to re-sign them. And if we can re-sign them and are confident we can re-sign them, then we should re-sign them and build around them. I'm not confident about that. And after next season, Jalen can go. And after the year after that, Tatum can go. And
so what is the plan? All right, so carry out your plan. What do they do next after they trade Tatum?
I would with Ayton and before those picks are actually good, because you're not going to trade for the next 2 years. You're going to trade for some offsetting years like they did for the Lakers deal and the Anthony Davis trade. So you're going to have some 2026, 2027 picks.
Justin, try to follow this up.
Frank, I usually agree with you, but I'm sorry, I can't on this one. If I hear draft picks one more time, I might lose my mind after watching Danny Ainge hoard them for freaking a decade. Okay, so before the finals, Tatum everywhere on ESPN every day, the next Durant, he's like the next comer. He's supposed to be the guy. He had a bad series. Let's just pause. It wasn't a good series for him. Can he get better? Yes. Was he better this year? In 2 areas significantly. Actually, I'd say, 2 areas, defense and passing. He can get better at both too. Those aren't like his ceiling. His shot selection, I'd like to see him get better 2-point shot selection. Jaylen Brown became very good at that 18-footer, which it looks like it's never going in, but it does. I'd like to see more of those than him just selling for 3-pointers all the time. But in terms of what the Celtics need, they need a scorer off the bench, a 6th man, a guy that comes in, you can let rest Tatum and Brown. He can come in and get you close to 20 a night. I don't know who that person is, but the benefit of the Celtics having a trade exception this year that they have to use, I think it's like 13 or 14 million. It goes away after in July. Use that money and get a scorer off the bench. You have to do it. And you have to look at Horford too. He is 36 years old, 37. His contract is half guaranteed this year. It's 12.5, but on the books it's 26. You trade that. That is an asset to trade. He's not going to be as good as he was this year. No way in hell.
Horford, great exception for Westbrook. Do you do it?
God, no. For Westbrook, I said shooters. I don't want another brick guy. I want shooters.
I was just wondering. The money added I figured I'd offer.
Wait, that money works? That money works?
About 40 million apiece on both ends. Al Horford's 26 plus. I want to say Justin was close with the 13 mil. That gets you 39. Russell Westbrook's up at 41. You're right there.
That is insane to where Westbrook's falling, where you're saying you won't do Horford for Westbrook. That's just like hitting me like, oh my God.
I mean,
yeah.
Would you ever want Westbrook? I wouldn't. I've never. I
mean, honestly, he doesn't really serve much purpose now. He turns the ball over all the time. He rushes everything, and just the way he plays.
So, but I agree with what Frank was saying in the sense that if they had won, it would have been like, see, this team works, but they didn't win. And we saw in the finals when you compete against the best, not really say the Warriors best, but they're champions. You're competing against champions. The Warriors to me were like the Patriots when we beat the Rams in 18. It was like they were older, but they were just that team that could beat younger teams because they outsmarted them. The Warriors, other than Curry and Wiggins, no one really played that great. If anything, Wiggins made the biggest difference in the series. We knew Curry was going to get his every single game. Wiggins shut down Tatum on offensively and defensively, and he was significant for them. We need a shooter off the bench. We need to open up the floor, just like the Bucks did for Giannis. They set it up where he goes to the hoop and he can dish it out to Connaughton, Portis, DiVincenzo, all these guys that can hit threes.
Brook Lopez was a big piece there.
A big thing for me too is just Tatum and Brown cannot handle the ball as much as they were. They just can't. I mean,
too much on them at the end. It was like, all right, we're going to ride and die with these guys. They had no choice.
I honestly think you put too much on Marcus Smart having to run the offense all the time. I mean, you took this guy from a point guard that would sometimes run to saying like, okay, Marcus Smart's going to run our offense. I don't think does he make some good passes and does he have decent vision? Is he kind of smart? Sure, but I feel like he's not the guy that you want full out leading this off. I mean, again,
would you trade Conley for Smart? That money's close. We'd have to add more.
Conley's making. Oh no. Okay. First off,
I don't know how good Conley is. I don't know how good Conley is anymore.
I don't want to use that trade exception to get an older point guard. I want to use it to get a young shooter off the bench.
I think you can do better than Conley for Smart.
Something like that. A guy, maybe not maybe a little better than Kevin Huerter, but like someone that can come in and hit shots. A Jordan Clarkson, someone like that. That's who we need. Yeah. That's who we need, guys. We don't need another point guard. We need a guy, either a small forward or a shooting guard that can come in and hit shots and take over the offense. 10 minutes, 12 minutes a game.
What Aaron Nesmith should have been is what we need.
Yeah.
Honestly, what he was supposed to be when they drafted him is exactly what we need. Okay, so no surprise at all. Kyrie Irving is getting along with the Nets just extremely well. No, Kyrie has a $37 million player option that he needs to exercise by June 29th. Apparently, him and the Nets are at an impasse as far as his future. My God, guys. I mean, he handpicked the Nets, right? He was coming home, and home doesn't want Kyrie. So it's just incredible. I think he's probably going to be out of there, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know. I could see them getting rid. I could see him not exercising this option and being out of there because I just feel like you can't trust what this guy had it all with Cleveland, left. Boston, you had it all. You handpicked your net situation. I said this when he went there. I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually doesn't like the net situation, and I would not be surprised if he is not on the Nets. What say you?
I mean, he might end up on the Nets, but he's definitely opting in. Can you imagine him at the negotiation table right now with him never wanting to play and not being fully committed to playing basketball altogether? He's not going to enter free agency right now. He would, I think, prefer to stay there and run the team. No team's going to give him that, but he's definitely going to opt in for the year, and then he'll try to force his way to someplace he likes more, which is stunning. Durant wanted to go to New York. And the fact that he went to Brooklyn for Kyrie, and they've been through Harden, and they didn't even get to start Simmons yet, and he has to deal with all this for the first time in maybe 13 years. I am empathetic for Kevin Durant in the situation he is dealing with. Kyrie's too much, man. He's got all the talent in the world. He's too much.
So Kyrie's not going to go anywhere because any elite team can't afford him at a max contract, nor do they want to take the risk. The only team that I think would take him would be the Lakers because they could manage him. LeBron could manage him, but they can't afford him. And people that were saying they could do a sign trade, Westbrook for Irving, why the hell would the Nets do that? Like, you might as well just keep Irving for one more year. He's going to have to play it out in regards to earn his next contract. You might as well go that route rather than him going somewhere else. And the other thing is, if he leaves, Durant's going to say, you know what? I want out of here too. You're going to put me here with soft Ben Simmons? Like, give me some better players. And their roster is so old. The Nets roster was like the 2012 NBA All-Star team. Like, if Irving leaves, it's over. And Durant just signed last year. He's got 3 more years there.
Yeah, I heard a rumor from Jimmy Stewart on 98.5 who said that if these two guys were to part from the Nets, if it were Irving and Durant, wants to leave after that, he said that he thinks that Irving could go to the Heat and Durant could potentially go to the Mavericks to team up with Luka. I mean, what about that part? Could you imagine those two playing together? I mean, that would be Luka and Durant.
It wouldn't work unless you had all the defense in the world on the rest of the roster.
Yeah, you might as well. You don't need any scoring after those two.
So what are they going to trade to get Kevin Durant? Were they going to trade Spencer Dinwiddie, the guy that they just had? Or
Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, like, come on. They have no trade assets. I don't know how that would even work.
I just think that's an interesting pair.
NBA, it works because the player said, I'm leaving already.
Yeah.
NBA, Justin, this is the only sport where a player says, I mean, Ben Simmons just signed a 5-year deal and said, I'm not freaking coming back, and got traded to a new team where he gets to play 4 years after signing a max, what was it, 5 for 155?
I understand that point, but I'm saying
Paul George signed a 4-year deal and got out after year 1.
Okay, guys, I'm just saying, if you're the Nets, if the Celtics offered Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant, you would take that over Max Kleber, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jalen Brunson. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, of course he's going to get traded, but why the hell would they take that package? Because I guarantee the Celtics would offer that package, Jaylen Brown for Durant.
We didn't offer it for Kawhi or Anthony Davis. You think we're going to offer it for Durant, who's 4 years
Durant's
old?
Durant's a better player. I would offer for Kevin Durant.
I mean, you just said you didn't know if he was going to be healthy the rest of his career. And I honestly agree with you. Like, I
think Jaylen Brown's gone after the next 2 years because he wants to prove that he is that guy.
I think
that's why he signed.
Totally. The move to sign with Kanye is the move to sign with Kanye something that screams to you, oh, I want to take a hometown discount and stay in little Boston. No, he's going to try to blow his way out and get the max dollar and go to the biggest market he can possibly go to is what I think.
I think he's going to end up being on the Bulls, to be honest with you, when it's all said and done.
I would love him on the Bulls. I think it's going to be Embiid and Brown.
Levine will definitely be gone at that point. That team will be shit by that point. And Jalen could be like the guy that comes in and like try to be like, the next MJ or whatever. I could definitely see that.
We'll see how that plays out for him.
The first one had a dribble.
I mean, he's played above his skis, but I don't think he's going to be the next Jordan. I don't know.
No, I'm a big Jalen guy. I love Jalen. He's gotten better every year. So good for him if he makes more money, but he definitely will not be back because they're going to have to make a choice, and the choice has already been made. It's Tatum. And they're going to try to make Tatum happy. Look at Bradley Beal or someone.
They should pay both of them. If they're both willing to resign, then everything I've said about trading either one of them is just fraudulent. Patently, I wouldn't do it. If they're both willing to resign, then you do that. And you just kowtow to them, and you understand the league it is, and you just do what they want. And you go into the luxury tax for as long as this window is. We thought that Garnett team was going to be there for 10 years. They were there for 3. We thought the Warriors were gone forever, and they just came back. We thought the Heatles were going to be there forever. They won 2. And that window was 3 years. The Thunder never got back with 3 MVPs on the team. If they're willing to stay, you pay them and you build around it. I think Tatum wants to be in LA. I think Jalen wants to prove he's a number one. I don't think either one is going to stay here. So I would trade one of them now before it's too late. But if they're willing to stay, you keep them. You pay them. There's no choice to make. If they're both willing to stay, you go into the luxury tax and you pay them both.
I just don't get your logic on trading them. I don't. These are the guys you're trying to draft. Like,
but the guy has to want to stay. Tim's got to want to stay. Dirk's got to want to stay.
Yes. Is winning a championship going to make him want to stay more? Right. So you try to.
But we lost and we're not getting back. Yes. Yes, winning made all of this conversation different. We didn't win.
I just think you have to do all you can to put your pieces in and to try to make guys like we keep saying, the championship window is going to be shorter than you think. You have to do whatever you can to entice guys when you can. I mean, you've spent 10 years trying to get 2 guys like Tatum and Brown, and it's going to take you another 10 to get 2 guys like that. So why are you trying to get rid of them when they're 25 years old?
I don't think they're going to stay.
Do what you can for the next 2 years with them. Why do they want to leave? Because they can't win?
No, I think Jalen has personal reasons. I think Jason legitimately fancies himself a Durant, a Kobe. I think he wants to be in a bigger city. I think he wants to go to LA. I think he wants to go to the Knicks or the Lakers. I think that.
I don't see Tatum going. I thought Tatum eventually would leave, but I honestly think the Celtics have done whatever he's wanted. His kid's on the freaking sidelines every game. His mom, they're tailoring everything to him, and I think he has finally realized, being a Celtic and being how important that is in regards to the NBA history and whatnot. I think it's overrated, but I also think it is important. And I think that that Tatum does realize that. And
I'll tell you what, I get upset. I get upset that Tatum is such a big Kobe guy as he is sometimes, just because of it causes him to, take shots that are a little bit harder and everything like that. But one of the things is, with him liking Kobe so much, does he want to try to build the legacy of a Kobe and stay in one place? I mean, staying with the Celtics is going to look a lot better than hopping around and trying to win titles in this town, that town. I think if he wants to, if he fancies himself up there like these guys, as you guys are saying he does. Frank, what are you giving me that face for? He wore a Kobe band to Game 6. What are you talking about? The guy is obsessed with Kobe.
I feel the same way you guys do. NBA players do not care about spending their career with one team. That does not add anything to your resume to them. It does to me. I don't think they feel that way. I think this generation saw LeBron and KD, and they think that's more tangible than what the Warriors did. Because what the Warriors did is rely on their team, and it worked. But for every other NBA player, you've needed to take it into your own hands.
Look, I'm just saying, for all the times I'm upset that he is such a Kobe diehard, maybe this could be one positive reason that comes, positive thing that comes out of that. I don't know. I just feel like, why would these guys want to separate themselves from each other? Why would the Celtics want to separate themselves from either one of them? They're 25-year-old studs that, when you put them up there, what other tandems do you want over this tandem right now?
LeBron, AD.
And is that even bona fide?
Yes, that one's bona fide if they're both healthy and playing. Kyrie.
And how big is that if right now?
But it's always been huge. That's not. I'm just saying.
I'll tell you what. You know that Anthony Davis will miss 20 games this year, minimum.
Kyrie, KD, I would still take over them healthy. I know. I would. The upside's just still there. And that might be it. They're legit. Jalen and Jason.
So if you feel that, Frank, why do you want to get rid of one of them?
Because it's my feeling that NBA players do not like Boston, and that once they get their first contract, they're going to leave. If they
don't like Boston, when you have one of them to a contract in Boston, don't you want to keep him in Boston as long as you can?
Yeah, but I'm saying not everybody wants to stay. Not everybody's going to become Paul Pierce. Not everybody's going to be Kevin Garnett. Some people are going to want to go inevitably, even if we do everything for them.
I'm saying if that's the case, don't you want to keep them when you have them? If everybody wants to leave Boston, if you get a good guy, don't you want him?
That's what I wanted for the last contract. This contract's different. They're going into their prime. I'm not trying to trade them during a lame duck season. If I don't, and again, the organization should know more than me on this podcast. They should have a much stronger feeling as to whether or not they can actually legitimately re-sign them. But if their feeling is as much as 50-50, you should start looking for suitors.
Just max both of them and just move on.
That's how I feel. Both. But I don't think the players will sign on the dotted line. I don't.
The players that have left that money on the table, the what's it called, that the contract, like if you sign with your team you get 30 extra million or whatever. I forgot the term is in the NBA.
Oh, like the bird rights or whatever.
Yeah.
Or
yes.
Okay, the players that have left those teams are not good teams. Like Hayward left. The Utah Jazz team was okay. Horford on the Hawks, like I don't see Tatum or Brown leaving $30 million on the table to go to another team if the Celtics are in the hunt. I mean, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals 4 years since Jalen's been here. They've been in the NBA Finals once. I just hope that they don't just win one. They're like, all right, I want to see my next challenge. I want to go to another team to win another one like Durant did. I want them to stay. This is like what we've been waiting for. The 10 years of us sucking, not 10, 7 years sucking. We're finally here. All those years of those crappy teams that Brad Stevens coached up, Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder and Kelly Olynyk, those years are behind us now. This is our time to win. Sign these guys, max them, do whatever you got to do. If you got to trade some people to make sure that Tatum and Brown are financially happy and happy being here, you do it. This is like a rare opportunity when you have two elite players in their prime at this age in Boston. It hasn't been like this since McHale Bird. Just putting it out there.
I totally agree. I don't want to usually kiss athletes' ass, but for Tatum, I'd be like,
yeah, whatever you want, man.
I would let Deuce coach. If you can get me Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for 5 more years apiece, Deuce can coach. I don't care. I don't care.
Okay. Now, before we clear off the NBA, who do you like for your title contender next year? I mean, we pulled up some of the odds, but you know, who's your title favorite next year? Let's do way too early title favorites.
Milwaukee for me. I just think Giannis is the best player in the world. And I think with Middleton healthy, considering that series went 7, we're looking at a toss-up between whether or not they're taking on the Warriors. And I think they were a more difficult matchup against them. Because we are the Warriors. We copied them. We want to play positionless, floor spacing basketball. That's our goal, is to be like them. We just aren't good enough at shooting.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bucks too. But the
Same.
Western Conference, I think the Western Conference is so bad. Like I really feel like the Suns are highly overrated. It could be the Warriors again in the final, which is like, I don't think the Warriors are that great. I really feel like we lost to a team that Celtics are better than. But yeah, Bucks if they're healthy are the best team in the NBA.
Honestly, I think one team to look at on this is the Clippers. They have a couple guys coming back healthy. They've developed a decent roster around them. You know, like with Paul George and Kawhi back. I mean, I just feel like they might be one team that comes out of nowhere and looks pretty good this year. Obviously, the Clippers are cursed and they won't actually win anything, but they may make a decent run out of no. What, Frank? What are your squints are so powerful?
No, I think the West is funny because don't you think any team that you realistically have as your top 4, aren't they all one injury or one flaw exploited away from also being a terrible team? I think 100%. The Suns could fall back. I think the Lakers could be 1 seed or 14 seed. I think the West just has so much more volatility than the East. They admittedly have higher ceilings, such lower floors. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I like the Clippers. I think any team with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George probably can't come out of nowhere. I would probably put them as the third duo I would put over Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, if I'm being honest. They're slightly bigger and they have slightly more pedigree. If Kawhi is healthy, they might knock on the door this year. I mean, he won a series on a torn ACL. Kawhi's last time we saw him was dominating in the playoffs, just like the last time we saw him healthy before that. He's a very special player because he's like just an all-star in the regular season. But in the playoffs, he's different. He's different. He's a special player.
My thing with the Clippers, it's not Kawhi being healthy. It's Paul George. I feel like he always does not show up when it matters the most. In his career, he'll put up 40 against the Pelicans in a random November game. But Game 7, he will not show up. So if Kawhi is...
A question that just came from me out of that when you talked about those duos is, would you rather have Paul George or Jaylen Brown?
Paul George. I just talk shit about him, but I mean...
The talent.
Yeah,
I feel like that is actually really close at this point, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty good to say for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. He'll be making some coin with Donda. That's for sure. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping, and let's do Frank. Why don't you do with this day in sports?
I'm going to fire through these because I didn't want to cut down the list. I'm selfish. So 1939, we have the Yankees announcing Lou Gehrig's retirement for what we now know as ALS. 1950, Joe DiMaggio gets his 2000s hit. 1970, Brazil and Pele become the first team and player respectively to win 3 World Cups. 1997, Boston Bruins draft Joe Thornton. He's not a disappointment by like number 1 pick standards, but God, I hated that pick. I hated the player, still do. And he epitomized so much of what was wrong with the Bruins in that era. 2012, the Heatles beat the little baby Thunder. LeBron's first ring. It was tremendous. 2002, Lennox Lewis knocks out Mike Tyson in 8 rounds. Then 1986, Bo Jackson signs with the Kansas City Royals, coming off a World Series for them. And one of my favorite quotes that he had from this was, "I did what Bo wanted to do," because he just speaks as such an arrogant athlete. And he also said, "I'm always going to do the opposite of what the public thinks, just to make them sit up and swallow their Adam's apple."
God, I love that.
Oh.
Now, how long, speaking of, being completely idiotic and trading a young stud, how long did the Bruins have Joe Thornton before they traded him?
Well, it went, Thornton, Kessel?
Probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't he like 24 or 25 by the time that was not smart, correct?
Stretch of players was bad. Thornton, Sagan, and Kessel were just all the same.
The Kessel trade actually was a good trade because they got 2 first-round picks back, and they got Sagan for one of them, and Dougie Hamilton with the other. And Kessel's a bum. But the Thornton trade was terrible, and so was the Sagan trade. I didn't watch the Bruins for like a year after that. It was just like, this kid's 22, and we're getting rid of him? Like, he's since then had multiple years of almost 100 points. Again, does he play defense? Is he tough? Is he a Bruin? No. But he's a lot better than every other offensive player on our team right now.
Wasn't he doing other things? Didn't we have to get rid of him because he was doing other things?
He was partying too much.
Oh, that's okay. I heard. If that's all it was, then I would have kept him.
Yeah,
exactly. I remember those pics of him in the Cape partying, flipping off the cops.
Okay, Marchand partied too, and they'll let him stay.
True.
Yeah.
How long was Sagan here? 4 years?
3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a quick trigger on him too, huh?
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the Bucks. From Bo Jackson not wanting to sign to them to today we got Gronk retiring. That's a sham and a half. He'll be back in 6 games or whatever. He just wants the summer off.
Yep.
Already saying that, but Brady might give him a call this year. I mean, why don't we do this? We should create some kind of lock or whatever. We'll add this to our predictions. Does Gronk come back or not this year? I say he comes back. I mean, at this point, he's messed around with retirement so much, completely bastardized it just like Brady has. I mean,
lock.
He's probably going to come back if Brady calls him.
Absolute lock. I can't believe that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, of all athletes, have entered into Brett Favre territory, where they've each retired and come back. Neither one wants to do off-season. All these things that they told us were important for like 16 years, right? Like the off-season and being the first one and the last one out. Turns out you can actually just be so good, none of that stuff matters as much once you hit a certain point. And they both clearly showed that. I find that to be hilarious. That is a lock, though. Rob Gronkowski absolutely will be back. I don't think there's any way he won't be. And a lot of times on this show, we'll create straw man arguments and we have to do it, or one of us will take the opposition. When you said they already said that Tom Brady would have him back, that was Rob Gronkowski's agent, Drew Rosenhaus. That's not they were saying. That is Rob Gronkowski's agent and then Tom Brady liking the tweet of Schefter who said that phone call happened. Schefter said his agent texted me and Tom Brady said, I like that. So they're just playing the game. Right? I mean, at this point, they both are playing the media like fiddles. They're living their best lives. Gronk will be back this year.
My God, when these two guys retire, nobody is actually going to care. Like when Brady actually retires, nobody's going to believe it or celebrate. It's sad for two of these athletes that are Hall of Fame guys. When they actually retire, there's not going to be an article written about it. It's amazing.
When I saw the post today, I was just like, whatever. Like, again, he's probably going to be back. It's just they're two of the best at their position. It's debatable, but I think Gronk's probably the best at end of all time. Brady's definitely up there, best QB. I'd probably say he is. And they just keep coming back. It's like, granted, I think Brady's retirement thing, someone leaked that to the media before he got a chance to do it, and he wasn't officially like set on it, and he was still trying to negotiate things with the Buccaneers before he finally did it. But the Gronk thing, he flat out said, remember when they tried to trade him to the Lions? And he's like, I'll retire if you do that. It's like, okay, I guess we'll keep you then. And then he retired, then he came back, and it's just, I don't know. I honestly, like the past year, 2 years, and this might just be a petty New England fan. I get kind of just like,
don't say
agitated of the things they do in the media, like the Brady brand and all this crap. It's just like, I want you to have yours, man. You deserve it. You deserve everything. You've earned everything. If I had to see Tom Brady in an underwear commercial one more freaking time, or Tom Brady doing this, Tom Brady doing that.
Bring it on.
I can't deal with it anymore. Like, it drives me insane.
Him dyeing his hair red the other week or whatever.
I want it all. Because what bothered me more than that, Justin, was the fake Golly G. Willikers act that he did for 18 years. Give me this version, because at least I believe this is how he genuinely feels.
Yes. I love this. I love the swagger. I love the cockiness. I love the trash talking. That's the stuff that we never got to see. I am all about that. The Brady brand thing and everything else is just so shoved in our face every single day. It's like, can you back off a little bit? I don't need to see a new Brady brand commercial or advertisement on my Instagram feed every single week.
Yeah, if only somebody would make a documentary about this guy, man, for God's sake. Yeah, so, I mean, that is just, I think that's so funny. It's like, almost reminds me of the times, like, when the Pats would have injuries and they're just like straight up lying to the media. Like, they're just like blatantly lying. Like, yeah, I'm retiring. Yeah. Like, Gronk a few years ago, you can't trade me if I'm retired. Remember, he went on Fox and was like telling the guys.
Yeah. I mean, I love them both. It'd be great to see them win again this year. I'm a Patriot fan at first. I'm rooting for the Pats, but I'll obviously watch Brady too. So.
All right. Well, from one idiot to another, Justin, why don't you take us into our idiot of the week?
Oh, my boy, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's one of my favorite athletes. Like, he does not give a fuck, and I'll just say that bluntly, about anything. He gets high all the time. He drinks his booze. He does his things off the court, and he just shows up to practice. He just doesn't even practice. He just shows up to court and just, dribbles, three-pointers, and he just does his thing. He's got so much swag. This guy literally drove his boat over to the parade. On the way over, he's live streaming himself driving the boat. He probably had a couple of Hennessy shots before he started doing that. His hat falls off. Then they show him on the duck boat or the parade boat slinging back Hennessy. And then legit, maybe an hour later, runs over some female fan And it's just like he lost one of his championship rings. The guy was just a complete freaking disaster yesterday. And it brought me back to Brady when how drunk he got when he was throwing the Super Bowl trophy a couple years ago. I mean, that was awesome, but Klay Thompson is the man. I love Klay Thompson. I've always loved Klay Thompson. And this is coming from a guy that was screaming at television for 6 straight games, F you, Klay Thompson. I respect Klay Thompson. But yes, that's my idiot of the week. And losing your championship ring and driving the boat over after a couple drinks, he's just the man.
You always root for the guys who get the drunkest after the parade. I remember when the Sox won it a few years ago and Mike Napoli took his shirt off and walked around Boston for like 24 hours just ripping cigs and was like on an endless bender. And like everyone's just taking pictures as he goes by like, yeah, now he's come by me now. Like, and you're just like, oh, Napoli's the man. I mean, he hit 220, but I mean, the way he ripped those beers after they won. So, yeah, you got to love that. And just Klay Thompson plowing over that lady and then trying to help her get up. I mean, that was just that's good. That's better than having to listen to Draymond at the microphone. What, you want me to tell you that we're better than everybody? We're better than everybody. Just, oh, God.
So I actually kind of like his podcast. There's something about him that like I like. I don't like him, but I don't hate him. Like I think he's very entertaining because like Draymond sucks. Let's just call it. He's a good defender. He's a good glue guy, but he always considers himself like the big three because he's been here the longest. There's
like
a significant drop between Klay, Curry, and then Draymond. And Draymond's just the voice of everything. He's essentially the smart of the Warriors. And it's just like he does his podcast. He was doing everything. And to be honest with you, him hitting those 2 threes in Game 6 was the biggest FU to all of us. It's like this guy couldn't even hit a free throw. He was so terrified to come in, and he wore all black to the game. He's like, we're going to a funeral. He's got the Celtics T-shirt, the 18th banner here, being like FU Celtic fans. Like, oh, man, I respect the pettiness of Draymond Green.
Is that podcast too much?
No.
I love it.
I don't really want athletes doing podcasts when they're still playing. Like,
why not? I think it's awesome. He speaks. He's like who's the guy in the point guard? Patrick Beverly. Like he says some weird shit, but like not a lot of guys have the you know what's to say this while they're playing, calling out other players. They'll wait till they're retired to do it.
I just really like after you win a championship, the first thing you want to do is go host your podcast. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
really, he was doing his podcast after Game 3 and Game 4 in Boston. Like after Game 3, he's like, I'm doing it after every game. So you got to hold it, respect the fact after one of the worst games of his career, he did the podcast and he owned it. He's like, I suck tonight. I respect that.
Well, I'll respect when he says I suck, but I don't respect the other stuff.
That's never going to happen.
Okay. Well, let's see what else. Oh yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Red Sox. I mean, they're obviously it's really hard to miss the playoffs these days, in the MLB because 14 teams make it. So, I mean, if you're at all decent and I mean, with the payroll that the Sox have, they should really never be out of it. But, the Sox just kind of look decent at this point. I mean, it was a tough start, a 10-19 start, but they have guys like Nick Pivetta, who over his last 9 has thrown a 1.7 ERA, looks like a true ace of this staff. You've got guys like Bogarts who look fully healthy, and Devers, who is certainly an MVP candidate up there against Judge. So, I mean, I think you're really dealing with tough things in the bullpen right now because they're like 25th and 8th inning ERA. They're like 29th and like 9th inning ERA. So that's very worrisome. But, the Red Sox really right now are doing what Alex Cora said that they would when when he got here, was talk about like stringing series together. And, they haven't played amazing, but they're kind of, they're coming out, they're in a decent spot. And, it looks like they might make some noise in the playoffs. What are you guys' keys for the Sox going forward? I mean, I think they definitely need to stay healthy. I think you're looking at guys like Chris Sale coming back, staying healthy. But what are your keys for them to kind of keep this momentum as we go through the season?
Well, they've had one of the easiest stretches of their schedule right now. They've had it for about a month now. The team, to say that they're a playoff contender is, I think, a joke. I think they'll lose in the wild card game. The Yankees
You don't think they'll make the play? You don't think they'll make the
so
playoff?
much better. They might. I still think Toronto and Tampa are better than them. I mean, if Sale comes back and healthy, it changes everything. They also, don't forget, they have James Paxton, who's supposed to be coming back as well. If I'm the Red Sox, I'm not making him a starter. I'm making him our closer. The guy throws 100 miles an hour. He's a lefty. Put him as a closer. They just have so many gaps. Honestly, this team is where they are because of Alex Cora. I think Alex Cora is a phenomenal manager and a game manager. This team does not have the talent to compete against a Houston, the Yankees, or even Toronto. They don't. But unless they make significant trades, which they won't, because Shane Bloom apparently thinks that the Red Sox are the Tampa Bay Rays and have no money because he refuses to give to anybody. So it's great to see them come back. But the Yankees have 14 losses this year. They're so much better than everybody else.
The Yankees are going to lose spectacularly because I've already seen this core of Yankees players fall short dramatically year over year, actually. They're going to get hurt. And if they're healthy, they're going to start striking out a lot. Sanchez, they're all – and for the record, they have a lot of really good players. So if they ever do break through this glass ceiling and they choose which ones they want to keep, they could go on a mini run. But I am so convinced at this point that none of that core has it between the ears that I do not believe in them at all. Maybe Aaron Hicks. I know he was hurt last year, but I remember him having big hits the last time that they were in a playoff series, despite them losing. If we had started talking about baseball and the Red Sox before the finals, we would have had nothing to talk about. So I'm glad we waited. It's nice that they've had this soft stretch and taken advantage of it, but they'll make no noise. I think Justin said it best. Sale can change that. If you get a legit number one pitcher back healthy and he's dealing like a number one, everything else slides down. Different team, different roster, different outlook.
Yeah, and I think after this, the rotator cuff, I think you have to believe that there's going to be reason to believe that Sale might be as fresh as he's been in 5 years. And typically after these injuries, you get some velocity on your fastball. So if Sale is able to truly throw 96, consistently. I mean,
but for how many innings a game?
No, I'm saying, his arm will be healthy, but I mean, he may injure other things, but he pitched 5 innings the other day for that rehab start. I mean,
he did? Okay.
They seem to be pretty confident in where his arm is. I mean, like I said, he's frail as hell, so maybe the next thing is going to go, but it seems like his arm is at least healthy.
That's enticing. No, he's the most fun pitcher to watch since Pedro. When he's dealing
so hard. I agreed when he was in Chicago. He works fast. He's got great stuff. He locates.
He just gets the ball and throws it. He doesn't even look at he just said the catcher puts down, never disagrees, just throws it. I
love that. Yes, good to watch.
Then you get David Price.
Well,
or Hideki Matsuyama, or what was the other guy?
Nomo.
No.
Nomo. Hideo Nomo.
No, the guy that we signed from Japan that was supposed to have
Matsuzaka.
Yeah, Matsuzaka. Oh my God, that guy he'd walk every batter. Oh, so painful.
All right, now we can't get out of here without doing our locks of the week. Got to hold ourselves accountable. Somehow Alex has gotten out to a 2-0 start, but I guess he's enjoying a bye week this week. And Frank, the things are not looking good for you. Justin's going to make his first pick here. But so Frank, you're 0-2. What are you getting off the schneid with this week?
I got the Braves against the Dodgers. It's going to be the best baseball matchup of the weekend. Dodgers slight favorites at -130. But I just think the Braves have it in the bag. Braves are my lock. I don't have a great reason. I just think that the Dodgers are frail and so are the Yankees. I'm going to continue to bet against them in the same way that I bet against the Splash Brothers to become 0-2.
Justin, what are you going to lock in with?
I'm going with the Avalanche winning the next 2 games and closing out the finals. I think the the Lightning had a great game last game. It was a must-win game for them. The Avalanche knew it was a must-win game for them. Didn't play up to the best. The Avalanche are the better team, the younger team, the more rested team. And the Lightning have gone through hell to get to this finals. I think this is the end of the road for them. So I'm guaranteeing they win next game in Tampa and then close it out game 5.
All right, and I'm gonna lock in with. Frank just gave me this before. I'm gonna go with this. Say that the Sox are gonna be ahead of the Guardians by the weekend. I don't know. I just kind of like what the Sox are doing right now. I'm a little bit encouraged. Again, they've been playing trash, like Justin said. Detroit and Oakland. That's definitely gonna make you look good. I mean, they even brought in some guys like Frankie Cordero to collect 3 hits last night. So, I mean. But I don't know. I'm just going to take. I'm feeling positive about the Sox. Is where I'm. So I'm going to make a Sox positive bet, and so with that, that's going to do it for us this week. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll catch you next week, same time, same place. See you then.